Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the A segment of episode 56 of Codename Kids Next Door, Operation Bullies. We begin this segment with number 2 and number 4 using a 2x4 technology flying vehicle to arrive on an island. They also have a cloth-covered cage with them. A boy with a cane greets number 2 and number 4, and he thanks them for answering his distress call, which had something to do about an escape. Number 4 mentions how number 2 and him stopped a noogie raptor from attacking kindergartners. The boy with the cane notes number 4's knowledge on bullies and calls him an amateur bullyologist. Number 4 responds with, "It takes one to know one," but the boy with the cane is not amused by this. He comments along the lines about how bullies can be very dangerous, and he even comments along the lines about how he considers bullies to be barely human. The boy with the cane then removes the cloth from the cage, and we see the noogie raptor. The noogie raptor's behavior and the way he's wearing his clothes are meant to bring dinosaurs to mind, or at least how dinosaurs are portrayed in fiction. The boy with the cane also reveals that his cane can create shocks, which we see when he uses his cane to shock the noogie raptor. Number 2 then inquires the boy with the cane about who he is and what exactly this island is. The boy with the cane reveals his name to be Jerry Rassic, and he calls this island Bully Island. Jerry further explains that Bully Island is his science fair project, and his sister Liza is helping him out. Jerry also invites number 2 and number 4 on a tour of Bully Island. So the three boys enter a Jeep, and Jerry drives the Jeep off to a different part of Bully Island. While Jerry is driving the Jeep, number 2 and number 4 notice the fences that are intended to contain the bullies on the island. Jerry also further explains that he and Liza are studying bullies in the hopes of better understanding what makes bullies tick, because they believe that this will be a tremendous help to other kids if they can figure out how bullies act or understand how bullies act. Number 2 brings up his own interest in science, and he offers to look over the data that's been collected so far so that he can provide his own thoughts and input. Number 4 grows bored of the conversation, but his interest is piqued when Jerry mentions that a Wedgiesaurus Rex is on Bully Island. According to Jerry, this particular Wedgiesaurus Rex is the only Wedgiesaurus Rex that hasn't been sent to permanent detention. Jerry then stops the Jeep for a moment so that number 2 and number 4 can observe the teasing time. So in one of the areas that contains the bullies on the island, we see 2 dummies, one that resembles a boy and one that resembles a girl. And then we see Spitballosauruses emerge, and they naturally use spitballs to attack the dummies. Number 2's response to seeing this is figuring that Jerry is probably scared for his own safety, being on an island that's inhabited by bullies. But Jerry assures number 2 that Bully Island is perfectly safe for visitors of the island, and he offers to bring number 2 and number 4 to the main control station of Bully Island. So yes, Jerry proceeds to bring number 2 and number 4 to the main control station, and he gives them a tour of the inside, while describing Bully Island as being similar to a prison for bullies. Jerry then brings number 2 and number 4 to the main control room of the station, which shows various cameras which record various locations of the island. Suddenly, an alarm goes off, and Jerry recognizes this particular tower. I believe he calls it a feeding center, if I'm not mistaken, But in any case, Jerry mentions that Liza is at this particular tower right now, and he requests that number 2 and number 4 rescue Liza. Jerry gives the duo a weapon that he says will create a hologram of the school principal in order to scare away bullies that might try to attack them. He also gives them a map or a tracking device of some kind, and then he lets them use his Jeep. He wishes number 2 and number 4 the best of luck with rescuing his sister. Eventually, number 2 and number 4 do arrive at the tower that Liza is supposed to be located at. Number 4 comments that they should stick together. So number 2 and number 4 stick together and they enter the tower and reach the top of the tower. And it looks like Liza is huddled in the corner of the tower. But when number 2 and number 4 try to talk to Liza, they realize that Liza is a dummy. The map or tracking device that Jerry gave number 2 and number 4 then activates a video call from Jerry, and Jerry reveals that this was actually a trap he set to get revenge on number 4. Number 4 doesn't seem to know what Jerry is talking about, so Jerry explains that when they were in the first grade, number 4 gave Jerry a permanent wedgie. Yes, a wedgie that was not undone, or a wedgie that could not be undone. Doctors even tried to perform surgery on Jerry to remove to undo the wedgie, but the surgeries proved to be ineffective. And so ever since the first grade, Jerry has had a permanent wedgie. And now he's laughing at number 4, saying that he will have his revenge against number 4 now. Jerry also apologizes to number 2, saying that, he apologizes to number 2 about number 2 getting roped into this. And Jerry comments that number 2 and him could have been friends under different circumstances if number 2 wasn't associated with number 4. Jerry then laughs at number 2 and number 4 and then bids them farewell while he deactivates the video call. Number 4 thinks that they should stay and fight since he thinks that bullies respect those who don't run away. But then he notices number 2 run off to the Jeep, and number 4 is annoyed by this because, like he tells number 2, when he catches up to number 2, they're supposed to stick together. Suddenly, a wet willy mammoth arrives and prepares to charge towards the two of them. Number 4 admits that he usually doesn't like to run away, but he thinks that running away is their best option for being up against the wet willy mammoth. And then number 4 notices that number 2 has already run off. He's annoyed by this, and then he catches up to number 2. Number 2 and number 4 also find out that the weapon that Jerry gave them was a fake. The weapon doesn't create a hologram of the school principal, it just creates a kick me sign. And eventually, Spitballosauruses arrive, but this actually proves to be a distraction in favor of number 2 and number 4, because the Wet Willy Mammoth and the Spitballosauruses are now fighting each other, which gives number 2 and number 4 the chance to escape. So number 2 and number 4 eventually reach an area where there aren't any bullies nearby, and so they have a moment to catch their breath. Number 2 says he wishes that bullies didn't exist, and number 4 then tries to blame nerds for bullies bullying, saying that bullies wouldn't bully if nerds didn't act like nerds. But number 2 calls number 4 out on trying to blame nerds for how bullies act. And number 2 also points out that the mess they're in is number 4's fault because he gave Jerry a permanent wedgie. After this argument, number 2 and number 4 do set out to try and find a way to escape the fenced-in area of Bully Island. Eventually, they do find the main control station on the other side of the fence, but they find out from number 4 finding out the hard way, they find out, number 4 in particular finds out the hard way, that touching the fence will shock them. Because, yes, number 4 touches the fence and he's shocked by it, so that's how they found out. And to add to their complications, the Wedgiesaurus Rex appears before them. Number 4 tells number 2 to remain still. He says that the Wedgiesaurus Rex responds to movement, so they can't make sudden movements. The Wedgiesaurus Rex, yes, they remain still, and the Wedgiesaurus Rex decides to leave. But he returns when he hears number 2 make a sigh of relief. And then number 2 runs off, much to number 4's annoyance, and then the Wedgiesaurus Rex proceeds to give number 4 various different types of wedgies. Number 4 lists off all the wedgies while he's on the receiving end of them. And Jerry is watching this from the main control room, and he laughs at number 4 getting wedgies from the Wedgiesaurus Rex. Number 2, yes, meanwhile, number 2 ran off to what seems to be a den for one of the bullies, and he finds some unfinished math homework in this den. So back with the Wedgiesaurus Rex and number 4 continues to get wedgies from the Wedgiesaurus Rex. But then number 2 arrives, and yes, number 2 returns, and he tells the Wedgiesaurus Rex to stop giving number 4 wedgies because number 2 did his homework. Yes, the homework that number 2 found was the Wedgiesaurus Rex's homework, and he completed it for the Wedgiesaurus Rex. The Wedgiesaurus Rex lets number 4 go and looks over the homework. He then admits that he never likes to do math homework, or he isn't a fan of homework, is what he says. And then Jerry uses the speakers throughout the island to yell at the Wedgiesaurus Rex and orders the Wedgiesaurus Rex to attack number 2 and number 4 again, but the Wedgiesaurus Rex lets out a mighty roar instead, which summons many bullies, possibly all the bullies on the island. So all the bullies work together to charge the fence, and they do manage to endure the shocking long enough to break the fence down, and they charge towards the main control station. Jerry figures that they're after him, so he tries to make a run for it. Number 2 and number 4 also realize that with the fence down, they can leave Bully Island now. So number 2 and number 4 head off to their flying vehicle, but they find out that Jerry already made it to their flying vehicle, and he plans to leave them on Bully Island. But all the bullies work together to grab the flying vehicle, and they prevent the flying vehicle from flying off. So number 2 and number 4 take this chance to enter the flying vehicle, but Jerry tries to attack them, and Jerry opens up a trap door to get them out. Number 4's underwear gets caught on the trap door, and he ends up getting a flying wedgie, which is what he calls it, and it's much to his dismay. But the bullies, the bullies are still holding the flying vehicle, and they work together to break one of the windows of the flying vehicle to grab Jerry and throw him out of the flying vehicle. Number 2 and number 4 are also able to safely get back onto the flying vehicle despite the trap door. So they're safely on board, and Jerry is out of the flying vehicle. So the bullies let the flying vehicle go and let number 2 and number 4 leave. Although the bullies say goodbye to number 2 and number 4, and they're quite sad to see number 2 and number 4 go, admitting that they consider number 2 and number 4 to be their new friends. On the flying vehicle, number 4 requests to number 2 that they keep this mission between themselves. He requests that they keep this mission between themselves, and number 2 agrees to do so, but not before he makes some jokes or puns relating to wedgies, much to number 4's dismay. The segment ends with Jerry being attacked by the bullies. So there you go. This was another buddy entry for number 2 and number 4. The number 2 and number 4 buddy entries are the entries where number 2 and number 4 both get to be the spotlight characters. I think there are some entries where number 2 and number 4 get to be the spotlight characters, but the other Sector V operatives still appear. Actually, this sibling segment, might be an example of that. But in the case of this segment, number 2 and number 4 are the only Sector V operatives that appear in this particular segment. And this segment is also an affectionate parody or homage to Jurassic Park. And we're also introduced to a new kid villain, Jerry Rassic, although we also get to learn his backstory. And while I'm on the topic of Jerry's backstory and the segment featuring bullies, I feel that this segment does a good job at acknowledging the nuance of the morality spectrum, or acknowledging the shades of gray. That the morality spectrum has shades of gray to it, not just opposing endpoints. And we're going to talk about that in greater detail in this particular segment. Now, yes, I should mention it's probably going to be on the longer side, but I do feel that the topic of bullying and acknowledging the shades of gray with the morality spectrum is a topic that's worth going into great detail about. So, yes, we're going to go into great detail about this particular segment and what I think about this segment. Now, like the title of the segment indicates, this segment talks about bullies, and unfortunately, bullying is a problem. Yes, bullying is unfortunately a problem that does exist in real life, and yes, I'm sure that there are many who have sadly been on the receiving end of bullying. So it's definitely a major problem, and looking back, like in the past, there were other related problems with bullying in the past. In the past, it was said that in the past, some people didn't really lift a finger about dealing with bullying or trying to stop bullies from their misbehavior. Some people even went as far as to blame the victims of bullying rather than call out the bullies for their misbehavior, and naturally that is a major problem. Now, in more recent times, at least as of the recording of this video, yes, as of the recording of this video at least, more recent times, or at least the times as of the recording of this video, have been taking steps to stop bullying. There's more awareness about the problems of bullying, at least as of the recording of this video, and there have been more steps to try and stop bullying, which is certainly a good thing. Although, at the same time, I have noticed that there are some people who, while well-intentioned about trying to stop bullying, end up trading one extreme for another, which ends up causing some problems of its own. And again, like I said, the problem is taking extreme methods. To clarify, while yes, trying to stop bullying and trying to discourage bullying is very much a good thing. Unfortunately, though, there are some people who seem to be taking very extreme methods in the efforts of trying to stop bullying or trying to teach bullies a lesson. And that's the problem I'm trying to address, is trading one extreme for another can cause problems in the other way. Like, yes, in the past there was the problem about some not really doing anything about bullying, or not really lifting a finger to stop bullying, or not really calling out bullies for their bad behavior. And some people would even respond to others being bullied along the lines of, oh, bullying's harmless, quit being a crybaby and toughen up. But on the other hand, I've noticed some people going the opposite extreme by acting like all bullies are pure evil monsters who can't possibly learn their lesson or make a change for the better. Some even going so far as to dehumanize bullies. And this reminded me of, Operation Bullies reminded me of this because of how Jerry Rassic acted. Jerry Rassic constantly called the bullies monsters throughout the course of the segment, and he even commented that he considers bullies to only barely be human. We do see in the segment that while the bullies in the segment mostly acted similar to dinosaurs, bearing a few exceptions like the wet willy mammoth, the bullies still were human. They still reacted like humans in some ways, such as when the Wedgiesaurus Rex, such as when number 2 did the Wedgiesaurus Rex's homework. The bullies were shown to talk still, even though they mostly acted similar to dinosaurs, again, bearing a few exceptions like the wet willy mammoth. They still were capable of talking, and the bullies were shown to actually appreciate number 2 or at least, yeah, the Wedgiesaurus Rex appreciated number two doing his homework for him, and yes, the bullies actually did the bullies made sure that number two and number four got off the island, and they actually were sad to see them go, though admitting that they consider number two and number four to be their new friends. Now, please don't misunderstand me. Like, yes, bullying is a bad thing, and bullies should be called out on their bad behavior. But I do think some people, while good-intentioned about trying to discourage bullying, go too far, acting like all bullies are pure evil and can't possibly learn their lesson or make a change for the better. And that's not always the case. Yes, some bullies are jerks who just get a thrill out of making others miserable, but some bullies are not just jerks who just get their jollies out of making others miserable. Some bullies might misbehave, but they still have good qualities to them, and you just have to, and they have to be made aware of the consequences of their actions. Yes, they have to, certainly call out bullies for their bad behavior, but also recognize that bullies are still human. There is still a possibility of some bullies being able to learn their lesson. It certainly is a case-by-case situation. Like, not every bully has the same motive or reason for why they bully. Now, mind you, that doesn't make bullying right at all. It's just understanding different reasons behind it. And I've said this before, I'll have to keep saying it to make sure that it's clear. Understanding someone's actions is not the same as agreeing with someone's actions. Yes, like I said, understanding someone's actions is not the same as agreeing with someone's actions. Trying to understand why a bully might act that way doesn't mean that you're agreeing with bullying. Not at all. It's just trying to figure out the root of the bullying and hoping to try and put a stop to it, which I think, yes, it's good to try and figure out what causes bullying and trying to stop it. And there are different reasons. Some bullies, yes, are just jerks that get a thrill out of making others miserable. Some bullies might have an inferiority complex that they're trying to hide. Some are trying to hide or express their feelings, but they do so in some bully in a misguided attempt to hide or express their feelings. And yes, actually, while I'm thinking about it, I feel Hey Arnold was a great example that recognized different types of bullying. Yes, I think Hey Arnold did a good job at recognizing different types of bullying. Like, Hey Arnold did feature some bullies who were just jerks that just got a thrill out of doing what they did bad. They didn't really have any sympathetic reasons for it or any understandable reasons. They were just jerks. Like, Wolfgang and Ludwig were probably the most prevalent examples of those type of bullies in Hey Arnold. While Hey Arnold did also show us that there were bullies who, while they made bad choices, they weren't irredeemably bad at heart. And in different ways too, like Helga representing the loving bully, but Harold was also shown to be a bully who wasn't irredeemably bad, and he was able to learn his lesson or see the consequences of his bad behavior. And yeah, so I definitely feel Hey Arnold I feel Hey Arnold in particular did a great job at showing that not every bully is a pure, irredeemable monster, but also still pointing out that bullying is a bad thing. It's bad behavior that shouldn't be done, but not everyone who is guilty of bullying is necessarily irredeemably bad. And tying this back in with Codename Kids Next Door, number 4 is another example of this. Number 4 was a bit of a bully. Yes, number 4 has been shown to act like a bully in some entries, with this segment bringing that up too, because number 4 did give Jerry a permanent wedgie, and that was very much a bad thing. And yes, number 4 is still shown to be one of the good guys, though. He's still shown to be on the side of the heroes, even though he has done some misbehavior or some bad deeds. And the show still doesn't try to act like number 4 was right to bully, not at all. Number 2, rightly so, called out number 4 for trying to blame nerds for how bullies behaved, and he also pointed out that number 4 was the one who gave Jerry a permanent wedgie, which is where Jerry's frustration comes from. And some would say that number 4 getting a wedgie from the Wedgiesaurus Rex, or various wedgies I should say, yes, Some fans felt that number 4 getting many wedgies from the Wedgiesaurus Rex was a suitable punishment for number 4. And yes, so number 4 had done some bad things. Like, it was wrong for number 4 to bully, but he's still not shown to be irredeemably bad. And in contrast, Jerry was a victim of bullying, but Jerry's methods of retaliating definitely don't paint Jerry in a good light. It's not hard to understand where Jerry's coming from, and you might feel some sympathy for Jerry, but that still doesn't make his actions necessarily agreeable. So yes, Jerry Rassic is a good example of the difference between understanding someone's actions and agreeing with someone's actions. Jerry is also a good example of those extremists I'm talking about, the ones who may try to discourage bullying, but they end up taking such extreme methods that they could very well end up becoming bullies themselves. A case of he who fights monsters, if you will. And I'm saying you want to be careful, too, about how you punish a bully, because there are some cases where there could be a self-fulfilling prophecy, where if some people are treated like irredeemable monsters, they may get the idea in their head that they might as well just act like irredeemable monsters, because what's the point of acting like anything else if they're only going to be seen as irredeemable monsters? Now, again, that's not everyone. It's a case-by-case situation. And some studies indicate that certain motives or reasons might be more common. Like, some studies seem to suggest that, like I said, some bullies have different reasons for why they bully. Like, some is because they have inflated egos about themselves, while others might have inferiority complexes. Some might be a misguided attempt to hide or express their feelings. And yeah, some studies may indicate that certain motives or reasons are more prevalent than others. And I should clarify, more prevalent doesn't mean that the other motives or reasons don't exist. It just means they're not as common compared to the more likely motives or reasons. And like I said, with regards to trying to discourage bullying, it's good to discourage bullying. It's good to try and stop bullying. That's a good thing, to try and stop it. But make sure you don't take such extreme actions that you end up becoming the bully yourself, too. You don't want to take such drastic measures that the people who try to stop bullying end up becoming bullying and just escalating, and in effect escalating the problem, which does more harm than good. And like I said, this brings up the importance of striking a balance. You definitely don't want to trade one extreme for another, but because yes, there is progress that's being made, which is good, because it is a problem to ignore the problems of bullying. That's a problem, and we do need to be more aware of the problems of bullying. But at the same time, we shouldn't take such drastic measures or such extreme measures to dehumanize bullies, or ignore the possibility that some bullies might be irredeemable jerks who don't care about the misery they cause to others or get a kick out of it. There are some bullies who really aren't pure evil. There are people who made bad choices but can still learn their lesson and make a change for the better. I hope the point I'm trying to make is clear. I know it was definitely on the longer side, like I said. But like I said, my intention is to hopefully make the point clear of the importance of recognizing the shades of gray, recognizing the difference between understanding someone's actions versus agreeing with someone's actions, how they're not the same. Just because you understand a person's actions doesn't mean you agree with someone's actions. And rightly so, calling out people for their bad behavior, but making sure that you don't take such drastic extremes that you end up contributing to the problem or cause a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like I said, I know that's a lot to take in, and that was a lot to talk about, but I hope my intentions are made clear. The point I'm trying to get across is, yes, bullying is a bad thing, and it would be great if bullying didn't exist, but we also have to be careful about how we deal with bullying. Yes, not doing anything to stop bullying is bad, but taking extreme methods in the opposite extreme is problematic too. You need to be careful about how you handle calling out people for their wrongdoings. It's definitely a process that you need to recognize that not everyone is exactly the same, or like it's a case-by-case situation. You can still call out the misbehavior, still recognize that misbehavior is a bad thing that shouldn't be done, but also recognize that not everyone who does misbehavior is a bad person. That doesn't mean they shouldn't be punished. No, quite the contrary. They should be aware of the consequences of their actions and be punished accordingly. But again, don't cross the line where someone becomes a bully too, or else the cycle of bullying will continue. So yeah, that was definitely on the longer side, but yes, I feel that this segment did a great job at recognizing the problems of bullying, but also recognizing the shades of gray and the nuance with this. Number 4 has been a bully, but he's not irredeemably bad, and some would say number 4 did receive punishments for his misbehavior. Jerry was a victim of bullying, but he ended up becoming a bully himself despite his hatred for bullies. He became a bully himself, and this recognizes the problems of taking extreme methods and trying to recognize nuance and shades of gray. But yes, that was definitely a lot to talk about, but hopefully my intentions were made clear. Hopefully the point I was trying to make is clear, because this is a very important topic and we do need to bring more awareness to bullying in the hopes of stopping it, and not to encourage extreme actions that could end up only escalating the problems of bullying rather than stopping it. Because yes, we should try to stop bullying, but make sure not to take drastic measures that could end up doing more harm than good. So there we go. Yes, that was definitely on the longer side, but that's it for now. So as of this video, we've now discussed the A segment of episode 56 of Codename Kids Next Door on this channel. Take care, and until next time.